Good afternoon traders, and welcome to this Axia stream where we'll be reviewing the execution of one of our elite traders over some news commentary that came out on the 31st of May. So it was just after cash close on month end, which was a Thursday. We're in for a bit of a treat today because I managed to spend some time yesterday really reviewing this recording with this trader who's got a really unique style and very aggressive style of trading comments and news across multiple correlated markets at the same time. So you have to bear with me, there's going to be quite a lot going on the ladder. I'll pause it to really point out some specific entry points, but otherwise we're really going to focus on the ladders for this one. Just briefly, I'll give you a rundown of where on the charts this took place. So this candle here on the 60-minute on the 31st of May, as I said, is where we'll be looking. And just looking at the 5-minute now, you can see that coming into the close, there was a bid up in the Bunds. Sorry, just to mention that we'll be focusing mainly on the Bunds, but also looking at the Euro and the BTPs. It's a bid up in the Bunds and a bit of sideways action, and we're going to take up in the ladder where the situation at this time was there'd been a lot of panic in the markets over the prior 2 weeks where there was a failure to form a government in Italy, and we're just picking up where it's kind of coming to the resolution of this theme, and at this current moment we're waiting for information to come out from the President Mattarella. Is in talks with De Maio and Salvini, the leaders of the two coalition parties who are looking to join, and we're just trying to look for some sort of resolution to kind of simmer the markets, mainly based around which ministers were going to be elected. We'd had a big run of risk off as one of the ministers proposed, the finance minister Salvini was very Eurosceptic, anti-Euro, and the market really didn't welcome this, and Mattarella actually put a block on forming the government in light of this. So we're kind of waiting for information to come through that there might be an agreement that could be come to whereby Salvini isn't the finance minister, at which point we're really looking for some risk on across the Euro, the Bund and the BTP. So just going to the ladders now, the ladders that I really want you to pay attention to. Firstly, we have the Bunds here, which we'll treat as the core market. The Italian BTPs, which really, largely used as a gauge for, when the correlation flows are coming in. It's a very thin market at this time, so you will see that some relatively small clips are really kicking this market up and down multiple prices. And then we're also looking at the Euro, which I believe is here. And we're just going to join just as this trader's currently been short after the cash close, the month end. One thing that he did mention to me, and I'll be relaying to you some notes that I made in the discussion, so these are the thoughts of this specific trader and not necessarily just my interpretation of them. But just to note, BTPs are currently up 1.3 on the day, and Bunds are towards the high. Now the correlation we've been seeing across this period was inverse, so any kind of relief we'd see in the BTPs, we should see the Bunds coming off at some point. So he'd just been bearing this in mind and had been short into the highs, just kind of managing a very, very tiny position relative to his maximum size and just waiting for some more information to come out. But also bearing in mind, it is month end, we may see some flows come through. So just going to get into this and really just focus on the markets moving, Euro, Bund and BTP, and starting to see if any correlated flows start to come in. So it's 25 past at the moment. It's currently 3 lots short in the Bund. And we're just going to sit with this and wait for something to happen. So you can see at this moment the Euros are towards the lows, Bunds are towards the highs, and BTPs, I mean, it's hard to tell whereabouts they are at this moment in time, but you know, certainly towards the upper side of their range. Just to take note, you can see the orders coming through on the left-hand side of the screen here, and also the trader's P&L, which gives you a good idea of, you know, what markets he's making the most money out of. Try to kind of not take too much notice of this. I think this is a FTSE play into the month-end close, but it doesn't really coincide that well with what we're trying to look for in the execution of this play. Again, so just watching, just waiting for this comment to hit the wires. We started to see some flow come through on Twitter regarding which ministers have been selected. And we should see a bit of a jump at some point. $26 right. So I'm just going to pause that here. What we can see, news has come over the wires or through Twitter that the ministers that have been selected do not include Savona as the finance minister, which is really BTP positive. Nothing's been confirmed yet, but immediately the one thing specific to this trader's execution is the speed that he enters the market and the aggressiveness. Straight away you can see he's clipped 150 Bunds short into 18s, and just watch as he manages this position immediately after, and we'll just then talk about what he was seeing at this moment. So short 150 Bunds, and you can see very quickly he's failed to go off it straight away, and he's starting to scale out quite quickly with 10 lots. Still not feeling too comfortable here with this sort of size. Should be going on side very quickly, and immediately he's scaled out of half of his position. Now, my question to this trader was asking, you know, why did you decide to, I think he scratched maybe half of it, or a quarter, and then another quarter we went to market at 19s to exit this position quickly. And really what the response was, you can see the euros come off here. Now really, if this is BTP positive, you should see the BTP really push up very aggressively through the highs. It's not really done too much. I mean, I know that looks like a big move, but you know, we could see 50 lots really taking out those prices. And the euros actually offered, and it's through the lows. So one real key bit of information was, you know, when you're at your biggest size, you really want to see all the correlated markets go in the same direction and go aggressively. You know, you don't want to be sitting on this waiting for other markets to catch up, you know, when you're taking your biggest risk. And also one thing to notice, which, or one thing to read into, we're at just cash, we've just passed cash close on month end, and we're sitting at the highs of the day. Now, some feedback that I got was it's quite a dangerous position to be short towards the highs of the day into month end with such big size, because he said the one thing that he was very exposed to was some sort of month end flow coming through and pushing, breaking up through the highs, and all of a sudden you could be 10 ticks, 12 ticks offside with 150 Bunds. It's not really the position you want to be in. So, you know, as aggressive as this trader is, really looks to manage himself out of this trade quite quickly. Well, not out of it, but out of the size and the aggression. He tempered his aggression immediately as he wasn't seeing exactly the flow that you would expect. So we're just going to watch now as he manages this position. So the execution style that this trader has, you know, he's in with big size and then he's constantly scaling out with 2s and 1s, and this is more of a kind of mental appeasement. You know, you feel like you're involved in the moment. You always feel like you're banking something, even if relative to the size you've got on, you know, it's not a huge amount. Now, must admit there was a bit of frustration that came across, you know, after having 150 Bunds on and, you know, scratching over half of them, and then to see this trade really start to push on the side. You know, it's a little bit of frustration that was appearing that he's, you know, we're now 10, 12 ticks on side and he's only got 10, 15 lots on, which is relatively small size. Just going to pause it again. So you can also see, how do I pause this? Right, so we can also see he's entered a long position in the euro, and I think really just after month end, he just said that he felt that if the euro would hold there and bounce, and this play was to play out, the euro's not really gone at all yet. So, enters his long position, looking to manage it, and again, apply the same unique execution strategy of in with size, constantly scaling out, and then if the flows really do line up and looking to get back in aggressively. And similarly to what I was saying with the Bunds towards the highs, he was very aware that he didn't want to be caught, through the lows in the euro as well. This could have just a splashdown, and you could take quite a big loser. He's just added to his euro position as the market's moved up, and it's starting to feel like the correlation plays starting to become a bit clearer. We've still not had any full confirmation by way of an agreement being made to form a government in Italy, but certainly all the news that's coming through across Twitter is kind of positive for this. So we're currently 28 past. Now the problem that he had he had a good entry point with in the euro, 31 lots on, relatively close towards the lows of the days, but on side. And now working that position. But the problem is now, Bund's gone nearly 20 ticks. It will shortly go 20 ticks. He's only got 11 lots on. And he said the main thing is to fight the urge to, once you've gone on side in a good trade, you've worked from your larger size down to your smaller, you have to be really confident that a new flow is coming in either through some additional commentary, some sort of sources comment, or something has to significantly change to inject some more life into this market to really give him the conviction to add some more size into the lows here. And I was kind of asking, what is that a function of? And obviously the Bund's gone quite far. It could very easily retrace and pull back quite deep into what this would be like a 5-minute candle or a couple of 1-minute candles since the release of the initial news. And you just don't want to, you want to manage your trade in the way that you've made some money. You never want to be going from being profitable in this trade up maybe, I'm not sure where that was, maybe up 10k or so far. You don't want to be going offside in that. There's still opportunity for some more information to come out, but you're going to have to be quite patient and really fight the FOMO and the urge as this Bund drifts down to add into the lows. You see this price action that we're seeing in the Bunds here, it's drifting. There's not a huge amount of size going through. BTPs still haven't done too much, and the euro trade's going on side quite nicely. That's where his focus is at the moment, managing that. 10 lots in the Bunds, not really, not really a huge focus. He's quite happy to let that, rotate and just kind of drift around while he's focusing on managing this euro position. Still, the BTP's not reacted. Now you can see here there's maybe only 30 lots could take out 10 prices there. That's how much risk there is in playing the BTPs here. Okay, sorry. So we're still seeing Bunds drift down. Euro is, is playing out quite nicely. BTP's starting to catch a little bit of a bid. And he's still scaling out of his Bunds here, but really main focus still on the euro, so I can't really fast forward through this as it's a bit, there's going to be too much going on. So just as the velocity is really dying down somewhat in the Bunds, just looking to continue scaling out, not really adding into anything at the moment, until any more information comes out, it's quite satisfied. Okay, just pause it there. Just quickly, he's just added, well, at least sort of 30, 40 euros. And I think that's just a bit of momentum starting to come through in the euro. And what time are we at? Still at 29. But hesitant still to add anything into the Bunds. And the BTPs, you know, really want that to be a high conviction play because it is so thin, you can really go wrong quite quickly. So still applying the execution strategy, in with size, scaling out with small clips constantly, adding, you know, scattering small orders, and just letting the market as it rotates and drifts higher take them out, and constantly feeling like you're taking something out of the market. Okay, so Bunds made a bit of a low here now. It's in this flow. It's found a bit of support, 300 lots at 93s, and it's just starting to drift up a little bit from where it was. You know, Euro hasn't really gone too far. It's now rotating, you know, the lower the range around his average entry. So, you know, just wants to still see Euro stay bid. BTP's actually started to come off, just drift a little bit lower. So everything's just starting to see a bit of a bounce and a bit of a retracement from that initial flow. And you can see now, as Bunds start to drift back up, you know, one of the strategies that applies, just scattering bids around, I think you said the 1 minute EMA, just in case there's like a splash up towards that EMA, and you know, you can get filled and potentially take some more out of it. So you can see him start to chase with his offers, that he's scattered. As the Bund looks like it's pulled back, you know, peaked in the pullback and started to find a bit of, you know, a bit more on the offer. Euro's still holding where it is, but not yet been filled on anything in the Bunds. Again, BTP's still lower with 31 past. And again, just adding more into the Bunds here, but still quite happy to be short Bunds. Just bearing in mind, still, you know, BTPs are up on the day, Bunds not too far from their highs. So really, for all the correlations to balance out, Bunds should be coming off in any case, even without any kind of significant move. But he's got a manageable position, 26 lots in. You know, that's nothing really for a trader of this size. So, you know, he's really happy to see that move around. Now, just going to pause it here. We're just starting to see BTPs catch a bit of a bid. And one thing that this trader was talking about was, for this sort of news, the breaking news, you know, you have the information that comes through on Twitter that, you know, day traders like us were so astute to, or what some subtle headlines about which ministers might be picked for the Italian government. But, you know, you still got to be aware there's a lot of participants in the market who are waiting for that key official headline, Italy government formed, you know, and that's whether they're overseas or just not really involved on such a minute, you know, minute resolution as what we are on a day-to-day basis. You still can expect that really big flow to come in from the official statement that's made. And this is one thing that this trader's always bearing in mind. Like, he's made some money. He's made like 10k or something like that, but he's on side in his Euro with relatively small size again, and again with the Bunds. But if that news does come into the market that it's official, it's been rubber stamped, Italy government been formed with, you know, with some ministers that are going to appease the market, that's when it's really looking to get aggressive. And that's when, you know, you can do all the work through all the information as it drifts through and bits by bits, but that can often be where the real culmination to this 2 week of panic comes through, and you can really make the majority of your money in a very small amount of time if you're positioned and ready for it. Okay, so we're just going to watch this play out for a couple of minutes now. What you will see, and what you should probably wait for, because this trader's so quick that can't even say it at the speed that he executes in. You know, he's waiting for this information to come out, the official rubber stamp, or at least some more commentary that comes out. But he's still wary. You know, the Bund's gone 20 ticks. You know, you don't really want to be adding into the lows here with any real size. Still wary that there could be a pullback up towards this area where he's looking to get filled. So BTPs have started to push higher a bit now. Euro's still a couple of ticks on side, but relative to the significance and size of the flows that we've seen specifically in the BTP, nothing's really come to really show that this market's been affected as of yet. You know, you expect this to be swinging or moving, you know, at least a point, maybe 2 points, based on any kind of real firm relief on news that comes into the market. So we're at 33 minutes past. Just want to pay attention now to the BTPs, just see how quickly he reacts to a move in the BTPs. So really focusing this market here. Still always just managing his euro trade. You know, you can see there's always very active, this trader. He likes to be active, likes to be involved, but also likes to stay in the trades for as long as possible. You know, he feels like if he's not in with something, right, just in there, 8 lots in the BTPs. I think we may have just had some more information that came over either via Twitter or on our squawk at that time. I'm just going to watch, you know, at this point, as soon as you're in the BTPs, you know, this has to be your main market of focus, really, because, you know, it can go against you so quickly and you can just be off the page, offside, before you even know it. So I think he's adding a bit more into his Bund position as the BTPs start to catch a bit of a bid. Again, adding a bit more into his euro position. He's up to 50 lots there now. But you can see euro's not really, you know, it's not really rotating back below his average price. You know, now just really managing the positions, scaling out a little bit of his BTPs as the market's moving higher, but really just, you know, in quite a good position, but still not satisfied. It's now up to 70 lots in the Bunds. Oh. But you can see relative to the initial size that was put on towards the highs of 150, he's still not applied that full size. And a trader like this, you know, these are the opportunities that we work on for, you know, maybe a month, 2 months, watch the theme evolving. This big crescendo at the end of this whole theme as the relief comes into the market, you know, a trader like this, he'll be he'll be disgusted with himself if he's not applying his maximum size and taking his maximum risk at that moment when every bit of work and commitment and dedication and focus on this market comes to that crescendo, if he's not executing and taking advantage of it. And just to note as well, if you're selling into the lows in this Bund and you're adding into this position, you know, one bit of information you had is that, you know, you're looking to puke so quickly if this starts to go against you. You don't want to mess up what's now, you're up maybe 20k on the move. You don't want to be turning a relatively nice win-in trade still towards the low end based on, you know, the significance of the news that's coming up. But you don't want to be turning that into, you know, into a losing trade. And probably just on that, I mean, something that, you know, it's always drilled into me as a junior trader is that, you know, you don't want to be trading your P&L really. You want to be, you want to be making decisions objectively, but not really with too much reference to how much you're up or down. But I think for a trader of this size, it's not the same situation. You know, you have to manage it. You have to manage your P&L, and you can't afford to, you know, you can't afford to take 50k losers smashing into the lows towards the end of a move. It's just not really, you don't get to this sort of size by doing that. So, you know, he's always got some sort of balance in how much what rewards he's reaped so far from this play, and how much he's willing to commit, you know, for the continuation of it. Okay, so we're at 35 past now. It's also starting to think now a little bit, you know what, like, it's quite a big theme. You know, Bund might have gone 20 ticks, but actually, it's just starting to fill his mind that, you know, we've seen point moves in the Bund, you know, off the back of some of these BTP moves. Maybe there's still quite a lot left in it. You know, I think that's something that, you know, a trader of this sort of aggression and size and caliber, you know, has always got in the back of his head. Actually, if I'm starting to see what I want to see, you know, I've got to be ready to hit this. You know, this has only gone 20 ticks when we've seen 50 tick moves, you know, in the first 5 minutes of the day or 10 minutes of the day on the open in the Bunds. So, you know, we're post cash, the book's a little bit thinner as it has been throughout this higher volatility period, but really just trusting that as soon as these correlated plays come in and the flow starts coming, you know, you've got to be willing, to go full aggressive, max out, and really take full advantage. So we're coming up to 36 minutes past now. Very shortly we're going to see the Bloomberg red headline which comes through, which is the real instigator for the flows to come into the market. And just want you to try and see how quickly this trader executes. I'll see if I can even pause it in time. So 36 minutes past, just watch as 37 minutes past comes through. In the next 30 seconds or so, you're going to see some real action start to come in. So you can see he's down to 21 lots. He's got some scattered bids here just to exit out of his Bund position, but you'll see as soon as they disappear, he's going to get rid of them and then look to get aggressive more, adding into the Bunds and the BTPs, and potentially even the Euros. 37 past. 5 lots in BTPs, 16 lots immediately there. Okay, so within the space of a second, he's added 20 lots into his BTP position and sold another 100 lots into the lows in the Bunds. That's the speed that this trader sort of operates at, and straight away he's looking to manage his position. Similar execution style that you've seen, big size in quickly and then scattering bids and offers, to work yourself out this position. But really the main focus for this trader now is on these BTPs. It's such a thin market. He's saying he's always aware that someone could come in and smack 100 lots at market and this could go limit down. Look how thin the book is. Even when he hit at market, I think 10 prices or 5-6 prices at least above where the market was trading, he didn't get filled on all of them. That's how thin that market is. So you really can't afford to be caught offside. He's now in with 40 lots in the Euro, so Euro's pushing higher. Bunds are coming off, but again working both positions. And really now it's just a case of, you've got your maximum size in, or you've got the size. You're not going to be going beyond the maximum size that you had in at the start of this latest comment, and you're really just focusing on scaling out efficiently out of these markets. But for this trader, his execution style, he needs to stay in. If this move ends up going a point, he'll be sick to his stomach if if he's not at least involved, just holding some sort of small position and making sure that there's something in. You'll see occasionally he's scattering more offers into the Bund, just so on the rotation high he'll be able to get some more in. Managing the Euro positions, 36 lots in, and scaling out not even quite quickly. I think at this point, there was a bit of feedback that he's a little bit nervous of this BTP position. He's still got 13 lots in. He's gone on side quite nicely, but as this starts to come back, you can see some pretty severe reversals, and that's where you could end up giving back. So you say you're up like 35k now on the move, that could disappear pretty quickly in this BTP if it just decides to go, limit down, or if it just goes a point down out of nowhere. So again, just not really looking to get much more into the Bund here, managing the BTP trade as long as it's going on side and taking out and filling him on his scattered offers. That's where he's quite happy to be. Now, one thing at this point which the trader reinforced to me was, all of these markets have gone quite far. The Bund sold off quite a bit, BTP's rallied pretty hard. The Euro was the one market that hadn't actually moved quite a lot. So one thought that's going through is, right, okay, maybe this is going to be the lagging market within this kind of this three correlation that we're looking at. So again, 10 lots in BTPs, still just scaling out, adding a little bit into his Bund position, as I said, just to make sure he's still involved should this look to go further. Finding a bit of support around the 70s area. BTP scaling out nicely. Euro's starting to wake up a little bit and really looking to manage this position. See if you can add a little bit more in on the rotation back, but being very careful, still focusing on this BTP. You know, you can see where the majority of the profit that would come through on this move, you know, it would come through the BTPs, you'd see. You know, you're seeing all these moves in these other markets, but really that's the one that's been the real money maker. You know, it's so thin that it's skipping through like 10 prices at a time. And now, you know, there's no more news that's really going to come into the market to give any kind of real change. It's literally just a case of trading the flows. So, you know, so astute to how each market is playing out. You know, he's 8 lots now in both the Bunds and the BTPs, 16 lots in the Euro, and it's just really about managing this position. You know, even looking to add a little bit into these Bunds at the lows, or the lows of this move anyway. You know, 20 lots in, again, just to stay with this. As long as the BTP's going, the Euro's going, you want to have something in the Bunds. You know, for a trader like this, if you're executing the move, you know, you want to be participating in all markets. He loves action, loves being aggressive. So now down, he's got one lot left in the BTPs, and just managing himself out of this position. 30 lots in the Euro, 23 lots in the Bunds, and really just probably starting to feel that, you know, this flow's starting to find some sort of balance. You know, that's where the money's been made, and you know, while you're astute to a potential denial that might come out, or something that says that actually, right, there might not, this government might not have been formed, which I think we do have something on, that's not where you're looking to get aggressive. There's no point, you know, being frustrated that, you know, you might not have got as much size on as you wanted to in the initial move, and then trying to make up for it on the denial. You know, one thing that this trader reiterated to me again was, you know, everything that he did throughout the initial stage of this move, so managing his position from the highs of the day, you know, in with 150 lots straight, scaling out, you know, all of a sudden 20 ticks on side with only a 10 lot on, feeling a bit frustrated, but managing the Euro, and then not really participating in the BTP until we got that full confirmation. You know, all this was part of the process that built up to that culmination of the move, which resulted in that relatively large BTP position where he would have made the majority of his money, maybe like, you know, 70% or 65, 70% of the profits from the entire move. You know, it all came out of that BTP trade. And something really interesting to me was just the process of how you manage the positions going into that. You know, so often the best parts of the best moves and the best flows always come at the end of these moves. That's often because there's a lot of trades, certainly like myself, you know, you can feel a little bit exhausted. You feel like it's gone quite far, and, you know, has it found a bottom, has it not? You know, these sort of traders, they're very aggressive. They're waiting for that culmination and crescendo into the end, but they're not looking to give all that back, you know, understanding that that's how this symphony has played out. You know, it finishes with a big bang, you manage yourself out of your position, and then you don't go back into the market trying to, you know, make back what you feel like you should have made from the move. So I'm going to leave you with that. I think, you know, it's quite a lot to take in. Feel free to watch it back, and, you know, even as far as talking about it, you can see there's so much going on. You know, just managing these three markets with you know, what would be deemed to me as decent size, but not necessarily to everyone. But, you know, the thought process in many senses is instinctive for this trader, but there's certainly things that you can take from this and apply to your own execution strategies, certainly by way of trading the flows when the correlation is in play. But just a bit of advice that was given to me, you know, unless you're up to the sort of size where you can really manage, you know, taking a significant loser, don't even get involved in the BTPs when it's this thin and this volatile. You know, with a 2 lot or a 3 lot, you can do some pretty serious damage. So unless you can really stomach the risk that's going to be in there, you know, main focus, really put it in the thicker markets, the more stable markets, and use, you know, the BTPs and the Euro as triggers and as just as indicators to be used, you know, within the flow. As long as they're moving, try to stay with the trade, and don't be scared, you know, if the flows start to build up a little bit more, to just getting in a little bit more in your core market. So I hope that's been useful for you. And yeah, I'll see you soon with another stream. Cheers.